What if Tanjiro created Eclipse Breathing? Look, sun breathing drains an absurd amount of energy from Tanjiro. The same happened with Michikatsu, Orichi's twin brother, who developed the second strongest breathing style, moon breathing, capable of rivaling the sun itself. Later, Michikatsu becomes Kokushibo, or Upper Moon One, proving that his moon breathing was just as powerful as sun breathing, but with a completely different style, capable of subduing 3 Hashiras with their awakened Slayer marks. With that in mind, I've already made a video on the channel about Tanjiro learning moon breathing, and I recommend you watch it too. But what if he not only learned moon breathing, but combined it with sun breathing, creating eclipse breathing? How powerful would Tanjiro become? And how would he learn moon breathing in this story? And most importantly, what would that change in the story we know? There are many questions that will be answered by the end of this video, so let's start with a killer question. What if moon breathing had survived through the generations and become one of the fundamental techniques in the Demon Slayer core? Well, let's go back to the Sengoku era, the golden age of the Demon Slayers. In this alternate timeline, something crucial changed centuries ago. We know that Michikatsu cared, both about his legacy and his skill. So, he taught the moon breathing technique to several students before turning into the demon we know today as Kokushibo. But pay attention, this form of moon breathing is not as devastating as the one amplified by Kokushibo's demon blood art. But it's still a powerful technique that was second only to sun breathing. Even though Michikatsu was repudiated by the Demon Slayer core, his disciples managed to preserve the technique, knowing it was essential for the fight against demons, passing it down through the generations. Moon breathing became revered as it was the best substitute technique for the lost art of sun breathing. The style was known for its attacks in the shape of crescent moons, both elegant and devastating, and for the versatility of its 16 forms, the highest number among any breathing style. Moving forward to the present day, moon breathing found its way to Sankuji Urokodaki, the retired demon slayer who lives on Mount Sagiri. You see, this implies severe changes to the story because before he would have taught water breathing to his disciples. Now, Urokodaki trains his promising students in the ancient art of moon breathing. Tanjiro's journey begins the same way as in the original timeline, with Muzan attacking the Kamado residence and Nezuko being turned into a demon. Gyu still finds the two siblings while Tanjiro tries to fight Nezuko, and in this timeline, Gyu is the Moon Hashira. Gyu was already very strong as the Water Hashira, so it's remarkable that because of this major change to a superior combat style, he holds the position of the strongest Hashira due to this technique. But moving on, Gyu decides to spare Nezuko and sends Tanjiro to train with Urokodaki. Everything starts differently for Tanjiro because Urokodaki doesn't teach him the fluid and adaptable movements of water breathing. Instead, he introduces Tanjiro to the fast and powerful offensive strikes of moon breathing. The training is brutal, as Urokodaki explains that moon breathing combines fast movements with powerful crescent-shaped slashes requiring perfect timing and devastating precision. Water breathing was one of the easiest styles to learn, but moon breathing is the complete opposite. As Tanjiro trains, cutting rock after rock, something strange starts to happen. The cuts seem strangely familiar, as if his body remembers movements he has never performed. Michikatsu was Yorichi's twin, so his personal breathing style is the closest to sun breathing. Tanjiro was connecting his movements to Hinokami Kagura, the dance of the fire god, the same dance his father used to perform. Tanjiro mentions this to Urokodaki, explaining how some of the forms of moon breathing were connected to his father's dance. The former Hashira had already heard legends about sun breathing, the progenitor of all breathing styles, but he never expected to meet someone who knew fragments of it. Urokodaki tells Tanjiro to practice his father's techniques, curious to see how the Hinokami Kagura could complement moon breathing. Embarking on the final selection, this time Tanjiro doesn't have the same difficulty as before. Passing the final selection with moon breathing, his crescent-shaped sword strikes cut through the demons with terrifying efficiency. The hand demon, who killed so many of Urokodaki's students, falls before the barrage of slashes. On his first missions, Tanjiro continues to develop his skills, but he notices something. Moon breathing is not a style that can be used with pure intuition. The aggressive style requires split-second timing and strategic thinking throughout the entire battle, making it more suitable for thoughtful and tactical fighters like Gyu. But Tanjiro isn't an instinctive fighter either. He finds himself somewhere in the middle, and during battles against the stronger Onis, he struggles to keep up the pace. This is where Tanjiro begins to incorporate the fluid movements of the Hinokami Kagura into his moon-breathing forms. The dance his father taught him emphasizes circular movements and sustained attacks, which rely on muscle memory just like a dance, making it the perfect addition to the lethal strikes of moon-breathing. After meeting Inosuke and Zenitsu, the turning point occurs during the mission on Mount Natagumo. With moon breathing, Tanjiro easily gets past the father spider demon alongside Inosuke, both facing Rui, lower rank 5. However, the hunters are still not strong enough to defeat a lower moon, at least not until Tanjiro is pushed to his absolute limit. Moon breathing simply isn't enough. The threads from Rui's blood demon art are too numerous and unpredictable for him to keep up with. In desperation, Tanjiro's body moves on instinct. He performs a form of moon breathing, but infuses it with the continuous flowing energy of the Hinokami Kagura. Tanjiro's blade bursts with radiant sun flames, while growing shadows follow behind each strike. Tanjiro unleashes what he would later call the first form, Twilight Slash. The attack combines the overwhelming power of sun breathing with the unpredictable crescent slashes of moon breathing, creating a technique that disperses the threads surrounding Tanjiro. Rui is caught completely off guard and hesitates just long enough for Gyu to arrive and rescue the Kamado siblings. Tanjiro's success and Nezuko's condition result in them being taken to the headquarters of the Demon Slayer Corps, where they meet the Hashiras. After the Hashira meeting, Giyu Tomioka becomes particularly intrigued by Tanjiro's hybrid approach and offers to train with him. Giyu helps Tanjiro enhance his unique style, and together they create the second form of the Eclipse Breathing, Unison, a spinning slash that creates a horizontal ray of destruction and continues cutting even after the initial strike passes. Seeking to learn more about how to incorporate the Hinokami Kagura into moon breathing, Tanjiro boards the Infinity Train with Kyojuro Rengoku. The Flame Hashira is fascinated by how Tanjiro's technique embodies both the aggressive energy of flame breathing and the precise calculating nature of moon breathing. When Akaza appears, Tanjiro is still not strong enough to challenge the Upper Moon 3, but seeing the Flame Hashira on the verge of death, Tanjiro intervenes in the battle to help him. However, moon breathing doesn't have what it takes to keep up with Akaza until Tanjiro focuses his movements entirely on the Hinokami Kagura, surprising the demon and even the Flame Hashira, putting pressure on Akaza for a few brief seconds until the sun rises. However, that's still not enough to defeat Akaza. Tanjiro collapses out of breath. Sun breathing is too exhausting for his body. The demon flees in desperation with the approaching sunrise, and unfortunately, Rengoku still dies in this timeline. But the Flame Hashira still guides Tanjiro to the Rengoku family archives to find more information about sun breathing. Tanjiro's Eclipse Breathing only starts to make a real difference in the Entertainment District arc. Do you remember how he had to switch back to water breathing to defend himself against Daki? This time, he doesn't need to switch between styles, because Eclipse Breathing balances the best of both worlds. When returning to the Mugen Train, Tanjiro realizes that moon breathing alone isn't enough to defeat an upper moon, and sun breathing is something that exhausts his entire body. Soon, he begins to train the combination of the two forms, turning his offensive power into something extremely brutal. That's exactly why, when facing Daki, he is able to decapitate the Oni himself without experiencing the same exhaustion he had in the original timeline. When Gyutaro appears, Tanjiro deals with a true Upper Moon 6 all by himself until the arrival of Tengen, the Sound Hashira. Even though Gyutaro's poison is simply very difficult for his hybrid style, Eclipse Breathing, to handle, Tanjiro manages to stay by Tengen's side the whole time, helping the Hashira deal with the relentless attacks from the demon. In the end, Tanjiro even awakens the Demon Slayer mark and saves Tengen from losing his arm and eye. The damage here is minimal thanks to his powerful technique, something that allows Tanjiro to improve the Eclipse Breathing instead of simply falling into a coma for months. When entering the Swordsmith village arc, Tanjiro's breathing style is much more refined. Tanjiro is 3 times more powerful now than in the original timeline. When Hantengu's clones appear, they drive Muichiro out of the room. It's the moon breathing that proves to be the perfect technique to use against multiple opponents, helping Tanjiro make a bigger impact against Rantengo's multiple forms. But it's only when Zuhoku-ten, the clone of hatred, appears with his wooden dragons, and the Eclipse Breathing proves to be as powerful as Mitsuri's Love Breathing, getting past all of the demon's attacks with the aggressiveness of Sun Breathing and the insane sequence of slashes from Moon Breathing. This time, Mitsuri, Genya, and Nezuko are the ones who go after the demon's main body. Meanwhile, Multiro wins his battle in the same way against Gyoko. After Rantengo is defeated and Nezuko discovers her immunity to the sun, Muzan wants to absorb her to become the perfect being. And planning an attack on the organization, the king of the demons summons Kokushibo to his lair. Unlike the original timeline, Tanjiro and Giyu will not face the house. The Demon King wants his strongest demon to eliminate the user of Eclipse Breathing because it's something Kokushibo needs to fix. After all, he was the one who allowed his breathing technique to be passed on. When invading the Hunter's organization, Buzan calls everyone to his domain, the Infinity Castle. Tanjiro falls before Kokushibo alongside Yomei, Genya, and Multiro. For Kokushibo, this is personal. He faces Multiro, who descended from his lineage, and Tanjiro, who inherited the breathing techniques from both Yorichi and Michikatsu. The moon breathing was born from Michikatsu's failure to master sun breathing and his eternal second place status behind his brother Yorichi. Now, centuries later, a young boy has achieved what he never could, successfully merging the two styles, surpassing even Yorichi. Kokushibo's pure moon breathing, refined over centuries as a demon, clashes against Tanjiro's eclipse breathing, which represents the harmony between the sun and the moon that Kokushibo was never able to achieve. Kokushibo focuses his sword solely on Tanjiro, and he desperately defends himself with the fourth form of Eclipse Breathing, Junction Explosion, a defensive technique where he creates a barrier of spinning slashes to deflect attacks. Kokushibo's anger and pride are his downfall in this battle, as he ignores Genya, who in turn manages to bite the flesh of Upper Moon 1. Kokushibo is restrained by Genya's Blood Demon art, and Gyomei traps him with his weapon. This fight so far has been crucial for Tanjiro to fully master his Eclipse Breathing, as he could see how to evolve his Moon Breathing directly with his opponent, or rather, with its creator. Furthermore, Tanjiro was able to observe how Kokushibo could predict his attacks and intentions, finally unlocking the Transparent World technique and defeating Upper Moon 1. Now Tanjiro is ready for the final showdown with Muzan Kibutsuji, but wait, what about the house? Well, Sanemi, alongside Giyu, are dealing with the Upper Moon 3, something that isn't impossible for these two. As they storm the castle, everyone comes face to face with Muzan, and this time, Muichiro survives to fight alongside the core during the countdown to sunrise, and the Hashiras together with their juniors fight to wear down the Demon King. But here's the real question. Sun breathing was the key to defeating Muzan, so would Eclipse breathing, an impure version of it, be enough? You see, Tanjiro's technique isn't just an adaptation of sun breathing, but an evolution that takes the best from both sun breathing and moon breathing. So, when Tanjiro unleashes the 9th form of Eclipse Breathing, Celestial Revolution, the Demon King is hit with a combination of lethal strikes aimed at his vital organs. Muzan suffers the same fate when facing the final form style of Yorichi's Sun Breathing. When the Demon King falls, Muzan is purged from the face of the earth with the sunrise without Tanjiro needing to become the Demon King. On this journey, thanks to Eclipse Breathing, Tanjiro was not left out of the battle for even a second, allowing everyone to survive in this final battle. That is, Muichiro, Obanai, and Mitsuri, who would have died against Muzan, survive and can live out their final days in a world of peace, a world where there are no more demons. Unfortunately, Shinobu still dies in the fight against Duma. Gyomei also dies since he awakened the Demon Slayer mark and was already 25 years old. Fortunately, Tanjiro and the rest of the survivors can go on with their lives in peace, in a world where there are no more demons. So, did you like this story? If so, leave a like and hype up this video. I picked out this other video that I know will blow your mind. Watch it by clicking on it right now. I'll see you there, otaku.